Hello Reddit. What is the scariest oh hell no experience you've had? When I was 10 or so, I woke up before everyone in the house. It was like 7 AM and decided I would sneak into the pool. I was waist deep in the water before I saw the alligator on the other side of the pool. I stepped into an elevator on the 8th floor of a hotel and hit the 10th floor button. Right before the doors closed, a group of at least 15 people jammed themselves in while I'm standing in the back corner. The elevator was rated for 10 adults. Instead of going up, the elevator slowly started to go down. After half a floor, the elevator went into free fall for roughly 2 floors until the emergency cable caught. I thought I was going to die that day. Early one morning I was leaving a hotel and a man followed me to my car. I jumped in quickly and locked the doors as my butt was hitting the seat. He knocked on my window and I let it down only about 2 inches. He tried his best to convince me I dropped a key in the parking lot and should get out and get it. It was a ploy and I knew it. I finally looked him in the eye and said, "No, not me." He knew I meant that he wasn't getting me. I wasn't scared, but instead furious. I left before he did and hurried to get onto the interstate. With heavy 5-lane traffic he came flying up behind me and then, right before slamming into me, he darted left between cars, almost causing an accident. I couldn't report him because I left so quickly and didn't get his plate number. I never stayed at that hotel again while traveling that route. I was home alone one day and heard someone walking on the roof. I literally almost shit my pants. Found out later that the roofers were coming that afternoon. Mom forgot to tell me. Got into a car with a friend. Did not realize she was very high until she almost killed us blowing through a red light. Made her pull the fuck over and I drove us home suspended. License or not, I was not ready to die like that. I was around 11 to 12 in a public restroom that had a couple stalls. Just sat down to start my piddle when the woman in the next stall asked if I could pass her some toilet paper. Sure, no problem, we've all been there. When I pass it under the divider, she ended up stroking my finger as she's taking the paper, her index finger lingering on me. I didn't think anything of it. It's an awkward pass. I finish up, flush and step out of the stall to go wash my hands. As I'm starting scrubbing, she steps out of her stall. Normal looking 40-ish woman, just looks like someone's mom. She starts washing her hands and just locks eyes with me in the mirror. It was only about 3 seconds in total, but I remember how her smile subtly went from generic to something a little darker. It was hard to explain, but I felt like she wanted to eat me. Every possible spot of skin that could get goosebumps stood to attention. Instinct told me to GTFO of that bathroom, so I bolted. Could have been nothing, could have been a childish dramatic projection, but I swear, that bitch was going to chew on me. I just recently moved out of the north. Where I lived in particular happened to be a very tick infested place some seasons. Well, one day I pulled a huge one off my dog, grabbed an old shoe, and flattened that bugger. When I lifted up the shoe I noticed a good amount of blood moving all strange like. Upon closer investigation it turned out to be little microscopic babies moving around. It gave me the most oh hell no feeling I've probably had. I ended up torching the concrete for like a minute straight. Took care of the situation quite well. I did community service at the local hospital. One of my duties were to deliver the food menus early morning to every patient, so that meant starting my rounds around 5 to 6 AM. The first floor was ICU, and it was still fairly dark around that time. I walked into a patient's room and all the blinds were shut, and the only light that lit the room came from the equipment she was hooked up to. I wasn't sure if she was awake or not, and so I announced myself and waited for a response. Sometimes patients were unable to make meal choices, and so I would stick around to help them out. I stood there for a couple seconds and saw her eyes closed shut. Thinking she was still asleep, I made my way towards the door. Halfway through, with my back towards her, I hear her say, "Make sure they don't follow you out." I stopped in my tracks and slowly turned around and saw that her eyes were still closed and quickly ran the fuck out of there. There was no one in that room except her. Worked at a coffee shop. One of the baristas was cleaning the bathroom. Hear her literally yell, "Yep." She comes to get me, saying I need to take care of a weird looking spider. I love bugs and get kind of excited to catch and release the weird looking spider outside. Walk into the bathroom and it's not a spider, it's a fucking scorpion. A car accident in my early 20s. I was driving around a bend under a freeway on my last lesson before going for my probationary license when a car driving at least 70 km/h over the limit, 160 km/h in a 90 km/h zone, about 100 miles per hour in a 55 zone, smashed into my rear driver's side. The car I was driving spun out of control and smashed into an underpass. My teacher and I were both desperately lucky to be alive, though we both sustained serious injuries. Trekking through the woods behind my friend's house while playing manhunt. Midnight in December. No sensible reason for anyone to be outside. Snow everywhere. I'm walking along and approach this ramshackle cabin/crack house. Hear a faint squeaking of a swing set moving back and forth. Audibly to my friend, who was with me, I say, "What the fuck is that? Dead." Fucking. Silence ensues. The swing stops moving the minute I stop talking. I'm not known for my running, but I think I broke land speed records that day. Was watching TV, sitting on my couch, when I saw the silhouettes of three men, one with a gun drawn, walking up to my door. They knocked on my door. I didn't respond, and sat there with my crappy little shotgun. They started knocking loudly, I guess to make sure if anyone was home. Then they started to pry open the door with a crowbar. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, the dudes were gone. The men who were trying to break in were standing next to a broken window the entire time.